Okay, good morning. This is the VLB VA Boot Camp. It is a 3-hour MCE, so we have you till noon. You do have a PowerPoint presentation, copy of the PowerPoint presentation in your green file, so you can follow along. We're going to be talking about the VA Home Loan Program and the Texas Veterans Land Board Housing Assistance Program as well. This program was created by the Department of Veterans Affairs and the Veterans Land Board here in Houston, the Houston Regional VA office. And the whole goal of the class was to retrain your brain so that you have the knowledge and the information that you need to get referrals. There are 225,000 veterans in Harris County alone. This county has more veterans, or this area has more veterans than any other area in the state of Texas. It is not the highest volume area for the Department of Veterans Affairs Home Loan Program. Bexar County, San Antonio, where I'm from, is the highest volume. But the point is there's a lot of potential for growth in this area. So we don't want you to have any more fear about referring to the VA Home Loan Program for your veterans at your meeting. And your goal would be to always ask your customer, are you a veteran? Now, the VA Home Loan Program is the very best program for our veterans to buy a house. Why is that? Because they can borrow up to $417,000, up to the Freddie Mac conforming loan limit, which is $417,000 with no down payment if they have full entitlement. So do we have anybody that knows a veteran in the audience? Okay. So who's the veteran that you know, Michelle?
My father.
Your dad's a veteran, and he was in what branch of the military?
The Navy.
He was in the Navy, okay. What era of service? Was he in Vietnam? Was he?
He was in Vietnam.
Okay. What kind of ship was he on, do you know?
And well, he was on an aircraft carrier.
Oh my
and he was a
goodness.
pilot.
Oh wow, okay, that's cool. So your dad was gone quite a bit then. Yeah, gone probably more than he was at home. And Frank was just telling us his son is in the Air Force and won all kinds of really neat Airman of the Quarter, very impressive stuff. You're working him 6 days a week, 12-hour days. So that's something that we have in common with our veterans. Do you know a veteran?
Yeah, my dad.
Your dad, and what branch of the military?
Air Force.
Air Force guy too. I'm an Air Force brat as well. So you have a lot in common with your veterans, even if you're not a veteran. You know that the veteran is sacrificing, you know. So we're going to be asking your customers, are you a veteran? Just that one question, are you a veteran? If the answer is yes, I know that you don't work, 8-hour days. Or were you ever away from your family? What branch of the military? And tell me about your military service. And you will get so many blessings by doing that. Well, I was in H-E-B. You have H-E-B grocery stores here? That's my favorite store. So I'm in H-E-B and I'm talking to this, I'm seeing this guy, this older gentleman that has a hat on that says Tin Can Sailor. And I walk up to him and I say, sir, excuse me, I don't know what a Tin Can Sailor is. He proceeded to tell me, and I should know that, but I didn't, that a Tin Can Sailor is someone that's been on a destroyer. Okay, and he had been on a destroyer during World War II, started telling me about being attacked by the Japanese kamikaze pilots and all these interesting stories. Yes, it was really a big blessing. So all you got to do is say, are you a veteran? What was your career field? Tell me about your service. And you're going to get a big blessing by that. So this slide was put in the presentation many years ago, so I don't know what the current statistics are, but at the time the class was created about 7 years ago, only 10% of the veterans use their VA home loan benefit to buy a house. Now, why would that be? Why would veterans? I'm sure you've heard that. I know my own father used a conventional loan to buy his house. So why would a veteran not use their VA home loan benefit if it's the best deal for them?
I know my dad at one time was going to save it, like they could only use it once or twice at one time.
That's an excellent one. They think they can only use it one time, which is not true. They can use it multiple times. They can even have 2 VA loans at the same time. That's a good one. Maybe the lender doesn't know the program. We've had that experience in this area. I had an agent that she actually, during the Vietnam War, she's on the NASA area, Clear Lake area, She went to Fort Sam, to Brooke Army Medical Center with her friend because her friend's boyfriend had been wounded. He was a wounded warrior and he was at Brooke Army Medical Center. So she says, I'll go to San Antonio with you. In the course of the visit, she fell in love with the guy's roommate, this other wounded warrior. And she said when she got ready to come back to Houston, she looked at me and says, I'm going to marry you someday. And she married this wounded warrior. After she took this class, she said, I cannot tell you how many veterans I think I have not helped because my lender told me that the VA program was not a good program. And it made her really sad, and it's just not true. You should be able to close a loan in the same amount of time, a VA loan in the same amount of time that you close an FHA or a conventional loan. A lot of myths and misconceptions. Too much red tape. You know, I like to say when there's 20-somethings in the audience, you know, there never used to be an internet, and they go, what? Really? But there never used to be an internet. I mean, when I first got out of college, my first job at a bank, we didn't even have a fax machine. So, you know, it used to be true that there was too much red tape, everything had to be mailed, so on and so forth. The internet has renovated the way that the VA does business. Everything's ordered through the VA web portal. Is it a lot of extra paperwork, Michelle, to do a VA loan?
No.
No. You just have to know the couple extra pieces of paper that need to be completed. Appraisals take too long. That's not true anymore. They only have 10 working days to get the appraisal back to the lender. And they're not supposed to accept the appraisal unless they can get it done within that 10 working days. That being said, if we did have a problem, we would be contacting their regional VA office, the Chief Assistant Valuation Officer, Christopher Roby, and saying, we have a problem, can you help us with this appraiser? VA has too many repairs, not necessarily. Their basic rule is safe, sound, and sanitary. And one of the things you're going to get as a follow-up to this class is a copy of the MPR's, minimum property requirements, so that if you have a listing and you want to see if the VA appraiser will like this house or will approve it, you will look at the MPRs and you'll have an idea of what is required. Can't be used more than once. That's, you know, that was a great one that you said, but it's actually not true. Once you pay your loan off, then your entitlement can be reinstored. You sell your house, your entitlement's reinstated. So the benefits, and my sort of claim to fame is that I worked for the Veterans Land Board for 21 years. So it means I'm old, but it also means, which is obvious, but I mean, it also means that, you know, there's probably no question that you can't ask me that I don't either know the answer to, or I will try to get it for you. And I like working with I was just telling Frank, I really like working with realtors because the whole mentality is, let's get this deal closed. How can we help this person? And in the day at the Veterans Land Board, I would always tell the veterans, if the lender tells you that the VA home loan program is not the best program for you, then you need to call me back. I'd love to talk to you. You can call me on the weekends. I want the name of the loan officer, the name of the company. I want to know why they said that the VA home loan program is not the best for you, because you can borrow up to $417 with no down payment. What other program is like that? In the event that we have someone that doesn't fit in the scenario of the automated underwriting system, we can do manual underwrites. Investors don't really like a manual underwrite, but we can do them when we really think that the customer warrants that. Lower fees and minimal closing costs, you're going to learn exactly what is allowed as far as charges to the veteran. So there's limited fees. If I make Frank's son a conventional loan, there's no limit. There's a free-for-all, whatever I want to charge or whatever the lender wants to charge. With the VA loan, it's minimal closing costs that are allowed. Competitive to below market interest rates. Interesting statistics that the VA home loan program has less than a 2% default rate. And so does the Texas Veterans Housing Assistance Program, which is absolutely huge because I believe FHA is along the line of 14%. And this is coming from Carl Pack, the former home loan guarantee officer out of the Houston Regional VA office. So what does that mean? You have a low default rate on your portfolio, then investors like that portfolio because they know there's a 98% chance that that veteran's going to pay, they're going to pay their insurance, they're not going to have to spend a lot of money trying to get the veteran to pay. So a high-performing portfolio, that means better interest rate for the veteran. Default or pending foreclosure assistance, that's a big one. You can call the toll-free number in the back of your presentation, and I guarantee you that somebody will answer the phone. The veteran can call and say, I lost my job. You know, so and I don't give out 800 numbers that I haven't already called myself. So it's back in the copy of your PowerPoint presentation. So how long does it take you to close a VA loan, Michelle?
About 30 days.
About 30 days. That's the answer. Now, after taking this class, you will be a preferred agent with the Veterans Land Board. Both of you guys will be. And I'm going to personally list you on the VLB website, so I would like to get a copy of your card. And that is not normally, when the VLB teaches their 1-hour Texas VET class, they don't have time, and it is time consuming. But I want you to be listed on the Texas VET website as a preferred agent so that you can get business. So if someone says to you, how do I know you're a preferred agent with the Veterans Land Board? You can say, well, go to the VLB website and you can see my name. Okay. So start referring to yourself as a preferred agent with the Veterans Land Board. You can put that on your website, you can put that on your business cards. I'm a preferred agent with the Veterans Land Board. Okay? You are smarter than the other agents that don't want to take this class. And tell me your name. I'm sorry, I didn't get your name. Leslie, okay. So Leslie, you are now a preferred agent with the Veterans Land Board. What is a VA home loan? It's a mortgage loan that's made to an eligible veteran that's guaranteed by the Department of Veterans Affairs, up to 25% of the Freddie Mac conforming loan limit. So in other states, the Freddie Mac conforming loan limit is different depending on the average sales price. San Francisco is around $700,000, LA County's in the 600s, San Diego County's 528, around there. But in the state of Texas, all of our counties, all 252 counties, our Freddie Mac conforming loan limit is 417, so we don't have to worry about that. So the VA is going to guarantee up to 25% of the Freddie Mac conforming loan limit, which would be $104,250, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So what's the process? This is, you know, Leslie, you don't have to remember everything that we say in this class. You just have to remember, where's my green file? Where's the card of that lady with the good hair day, on the left-hand side? So I never know what my hair is going to look like. It's amazing. But anyway, so you're going to just remember where the people are that can give you the information. But on this slide, you kind of want to remember how this works. You want to find a lender that you like. When I do home buyer classes, another thing I really like to do, I always tell my home buyers, work with people you like. Work with a real estate agent you like. And then when you find one that you like, stick with that person and sign an exclusive buyer's agreement with that person, because that means that that agent is representing you. Don't just have 5 or 6 agents working for you. You need to stick with someone you like. Same thing with the loan officer. Work with someone that you like. Number one, that understands the VA home loan program. And one of the things I like working, and I'll brag on Michelle. She won't brag on herself, but Michelle, I first started as the VA liaison with our company, SWBC, 2.5 years ago, and Michelle immediately started working with me. And would you say that you know VA loans? I would think that you know VA. She's very knowledgeable. So you want to work with someone that knows what to do. The first thing that she's going to do is get her processor to pull the certificate of eligibility, right? Mm-hmm. So I have agents that call me or lenders that call me and they want to know, what is the veteran's entitlement? And I tell them, you don't know until you go into the VA web portal and pull down the certificate of eligibility. You're also going to pre-qualify that person and give Leslie a pre-qual letter so that she can give that to the seller, so important in the seller's market, to say, hey, this person is already pre-qualified. But the certificate of eligibility is particularly important. I had an agent in Southlake, I was doing a class there, and after the class she said, the lender just called me and told me that the veteran didn't have enough entitlement. I said, well, how long is the application? She was mad. And I said, well, how long has the application been at the lender's office? She said, 30 days. Unfortunately, trust me, there's a lot of loan officers that have never done a VA loan before, and they don't really want to do it, or they don't know how to do it. That's ridiculous. You should be able to get the COE in, how long does it take you? A matter of minutes?
Yes.
Yes, it's very, so that's very important. And then we're going to talk about, when we get to the entitlement slide, We're going to talk about why that steps 1, 2, 3 is really important in your business. Yes.
Question. So pre-qualify, the loan officer is going to do that,
Mhm.
and that's going to be based upon the buying power and credit history,
Yes.
just like anybody else.
Absolutely.
The certificate of eligibility is not like a pre-approval. It just says this person is eligible for a VA loan, and then I guess in the amounts that they're qualified.
That's a good question, Frank. The certificate of eligibility is going to show how much entitlement that customer has.
What does that mean?
Well, every veteran, the VA is going to guarantee 25% of the deal. For the investor to purchase the loan, the VA has to have, to guarantee it, each veteran has to have so much entitlement. It'll make more sense after we talk about the entitlement slide. So after we get their COE, I mean, the point is, we have veterans that will tell us, I've never had a VA loan before. And they probably don't realize that they had a VA loan. We pull the certificate of eligibility, guess what? Part of their entitlement is tied up. So we're going to hold that thought. Once we get the COE and the pre-qual, then that's when you put them in the car. I mean, I know you put people in your car and search for houses before they're pre-qualified. Probably not the best idea, but it happens. But once you get a contract, then we're going to order the appraisal online. It's randomly ordered through the VA web portal. We don't have control over, obviously, who gets it. Now, you can talk to the appraiser as the agent, and if you've done a good job on your CMA, you want to say, you can't say things like, this should appraise out, but you can say, here's my CMA, or here's a CMA, I know this area, I work this area, here's why I make a case for that value. So once we get the appraisal, and we're all going to be issuing an NOV, notice of value. Our SARS underwriter, our underwriters will issue a NOV if they agree with the value. Then we're reviewing and underwriting the package at the time the loan closes. Then we obtain the loan guarantee from the VA electronically. So as Michelle said, it should only take 30 days to process a VA loan. It's not a cumbersome process that a lot of people will lead their customers to believe that it is. Now, this is what the certificate of eligibility looks like. I don't suggest you, as a real estate professional, try to determine the veteran's eligibility, because there's something called basic entitlement, and then there's bonus entitlement. And the bonus entitlement is not clearly evident on the COE. Most people will be using their bonus entitlement. So, but just for your own informational purposes, this is what the certificate of eligibility looks like. Now, we've been at war for 12 years, so what that's done is created all these people that we market to, all the active duty personnel. In most cases, they're going to qualify for the VA. The members of the National Guard and the reserves, that's a big one. So, and I like to focus on that because a lot of people don't understand that 40% of the fighting force in Iraq and Afghanistan are in the Guard of the reserves. They did not choose the military as their career. So all of a sudden war breaks out. They're what they thought they were just going to do one weekend a month in a reserve unit or in a Guard unit, and all of a sudden they're in Afghanistan and Iraq. Case in point, one of the jobs that we do in San Antonio is we volunteer at the Warrior and Family Support Center, which is a huge rock house that it's made to look like someone's home, but it's huge. And it's right next to the hospital, which, by the way, is the largest medical facility in the United States under one roof, Brooke Army Medical Center. And then we have the Center for Intrepid, which is state-of-the-art rehab for our wounded warriors. And then we have, interestingly enough, the best burn unit in the entire world. Think about why would we need a burn unit, okay? So these young men and women, when they have these medical issues and they're wounded, they come there. Their parents or their family members can come to the Warrior and Family Support Center and have dinner with them, talk to them, and gets them out of the hospital. So one of the jobs that we had one day last year was to take these wounded warriors to the AT&T Center to see the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. So I had two guys in my car, and the guy that's sitting in the passenger side, he says, I'm in the Army National Guard. Regular Army don't like us very much. And this guy walks with a cane like this. would not let me drop him off at the front of the AT&T Center, would not let me park in handicap. He wanted to walk up to the suite and all this. And knowing what I know, that 40% of the fighting force in Iraq and Afghanistan are in the Guard or Reserves, you know, I said to him, well, I don't think the American people really know the difference, and we haven't had a major terrorist attack since 9/11, so thank you very much. I think you're doing a pretty good job. And the guy in the back seat, they were in the same Guard unit. He was from Germany. He's big, 6'5" tall German guy. And when I was in Germany like 3 days in the 70s, and so I started talking to him in German, like all the words that I knew, like wie viel kostet das, and bitte danke, entschuldigen, der Glockenspiel, you know, just, and he didn't say anything, you know, he just sat back there. So he didn't say anything on the way to the AT&T Center. He didn't say anything during the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. He didn't say anything back on his way back to the base, except you made a wrong turn. I'm thinking as a mother, I've failed this young man. He's not having fun. And that's what this whole, why would they go middle-aged lady to this Trans-Siberian, to get out of the hospital and have fun? Get back to the base, get to the War and Family Support Center. He comes to the passenger side, he puts his head down and says, God bless you, ma'am. That's not a guy that wasn't appreciative. I later found out that he had 7 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. Think about that. Did I say 7 tours? Yeah. His wife was getting ready to leave him. The Wounded Warriors have a 90% divorce rate. Yes, they do. So what I'm saying to you, and this is very personal, I think it's, and what I like about doing these classes, no one made you come here. You want to help veterans or you wouldn't even be here, right? Just remember, Guard and Reservists used to be in the 70s, they were weekend, they're not weekend warriors anymore. Now, 7 tours would be at least 7 years away from your family. Because when the wars first started, 9-month tours, then 12-month tours, then 15-month tours. It's nothing for a young man or a young lady to be gone from their family for 18 months. So these people are incredibly brave and giving up a lot. So just remember, Guard and Reserves. And you have a flyer that we'll talk about at the last part of the program. Veterans who serve sufficient time on active duty and discharge other than conditions than dishonorable. So maybe the commanding officer gave someone a other than dishonorable. Maybe they were doing something wrong, but they didn't want to give them a dishonorable. Those are on a case-by-case basis. They would, as long as they have anything but dishonorable, the Texas vet's okay with it, but the VA wants to look at that on a case-by-case basis. So we would look at their DD-214 and the loan officer's going to say, hey, what kind of character service did they have? We have to see what their character service is. DD-214, thank you. I do this a lot, so I forget. DD-214 is a discharge that the veteran has. If they're active duty, they won't have a discharge, they'll have a statement of service. But DD-214, discharge. So you can just tell your customers, we need the discharges.
And it will describe the conditions of their discharge?
Uh-huh.
At the bottom of it.
Yes. Now, unmarried surviving spouse, we had one where the loan officer called me. The young lady's husband killed himself on active duty. And I'm thinking suicide, I'm not sure if she would qualify for the VA home loan program, but in that particular one, what we had to do was go to Decatur, Georgia, well, not go there, but call Decatur, Georgia Processing Center and fill out a form for unmarried surviving spouse, unmarried, never been remarried, of a veteran who died in the line of duty or from a service-connected disability. So it was, the documentation showed that he was being treated for post-traumatic stress disorder. So now, and if you read Time magazine, you know that 1 a day of our active duty military men and women are killing themselves. And it's more for non-active duty. So, you know, he just could not get to the end of the road there. Left her with a little child to take care of. So long story short, she qualified for the VA home loan program. So we got her qualified, no funding fee, and we'll talk about the funding fee. The funding fee is a fee that the VA charges the veteran, and it's a one-time fee. It can be added to the loan amount and above the appraised value, and it's put into a pool of money, and the VA draws out of that money to pay for the losses. So if you have a disability, you don't have to pay that funding fee. the unmarried surviving spouse of the veteran who died in the line of duty or from service-connected disability doesn't have to pay the funding fee. So, and she qualified for a 0.5% discount on her rate through the Texas Vet, because the Texas Vet will give that individual a 0.5% discount. So her interest rate was like 2.64%. It was just unbelievable how good it was. So that was a fun thing to be able to help that young lady. Merchant Marines. What are Merchant Marines? Have you seen Captain Phillips, the new Tom Hanks movie about the Maersk, Alabama? That's a good movie, by the way. It's a really good movie. But those individuals that work on the Merchant Marine ships that are moving cargo, they qualify for the VA. There should be a lot of those in your area that would be, I would think, that isn't this a big shipping port for Houston area, Galveston? So just know, if someone tells you they're a Merchant Marine, then they probably qualify for the VA home loan program and wouldn't have to put a down payment, which would be huge. Public Health Service, who is that? When I was living in Arizona, my dad was an Air Force guy, Davis-Monthan Air Force Base. My best friend, her dad worked for Public Health Service. And what his job was to make sure that all individuals had their immunizations, okay? Important job. What if people didn't get their immunizations and disease would break out? So those people do qualify. And others also may be eligible. So you always want to get your loan officer. Michelle is going to work very hard to try to find out if they'll qualify and get the answer right away. Yes, no. Okay. How do we get the certificate of eligibility? To your question, the discharge is a DD 214. The veterans who are no longer in the military have a discharge. Sometimes they'll have a discharge that does not show their character of service. So you can ask them to give us all the copies of their DD 214s or 214s. A member 4 copy will show their character of service. Active duty, they don't have a discharge, so we get a statement of service that's signed by the commanding officer. So the veteran has to get this, and they know, they're familiar, the commanding officer will be familiar with the statement of service. Guard and reservists many times will have a retirement points summary. Many times the reservist and the guardsman does not have a copy of the retirement point summary. If that is the case, don't worry about that. Just email me. I have the numbers for those different branches where they can get the retirement point summary. Not a big deal.
You said that they could have a bunch of the DD 214s.
Sometimes you will if you.
Just they go to different parts of the service.
Oh, we had one that was in the Army, Navy, and the Air Force, so they had discharges, which is unusual. But you will have them where they've had multiple enlistments, where they have a 4-year enlistment, and then they re-enlist and they get another one. So you have people that go in and out. You have someone that's in the Guard and Reserves, and then they go into the regular military. So a lot of times they'll have more than one. So we just want the easiest thing, instead of you having to remember the number of the member 4, just to say, give the lender all your DD 214 discharges. And then we fill out the 261880, get the veteran to sign it and upload it to the Veterans Information Portal, the VIP. And as Michelle said, it will come out instantaneously in most cases. Sometimes, like the veteran that we were discussing before that didn't think he had a VA loan, his came out where he had some entitlement that was charged. And when it says entitlement charged, that means they've used that much entitlement for whatever reason. In his case, it was an outstanding loan that the VA didn't have documentation that that loan had been paid off. So we were able to upload the HUD-1 and then get his entitlement reinstated. On the VA appraisals, what you need to know, rotating assignments, try very hard to give the appraiser as much information as you can. The biggest problem that we see with VA appraisals, probably the same thing with other appraisals, is that the listing agent wants to cherry pick comps for their sales. I mean, do you ever have any buyer or sellers that think their house is worth more than what it's really worth? So the VA's, myself included, but the VA's mission, just so you understand, is to get the value right. The VA does not want the VA appraisers to feel pressure from the loan officer so if we get our CMA right, normally we don't have problems. But they only have 10 working days to get the appraisal done, and then we have 5 days to approve the value and issue a notice of value. So as we said, the VA is looking safe, sound, and sanitary. I had an agent that said he had a repo in Comfort, Texas, wondered if he could sell that to a veteran under the VA home loan program. And so I asked, well, it was a repo that he had, and I said, is the property livable? No, the answer was no. So that's not, we can't do fixer-uppers on the VA home loan program. It's not an inspection, but of course if you have an exclusive agreement with the veteran, you're going to be recommending that they pay a nominal option fee, period fee and have it inspected in all cases.
So that would be just like a regular buyer. You would treat them really as a regular
Yes.
buyer. You would do your inspections.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is
Now,
there any certain kind of repairs, or you may get to this later, but is there any kind of certain repairs that,
I would,
if we saw something, I
Yes.
wood rot is a
Yes.
big one, and
yes, I can say, of course you're going to get the MPRs, the minimum property requirements, but that's a really good question. You have broken glass, window panes that are cracked, got to have that fixed. Hole in the roof, got to have it fixed. You've got rotted wood on the siding, they're going to want to have that fixed. Your carpet's messed up, not so much. As long as it's not some kind of a hazard, and it appraises out. Carpet that's not in good condition is going to affect the appraised value, but how much? Probably not that much, right? Yeah. So they're not going to make you repaint the inside of the house or, yeah.
There was, like if you walk into a house and you see wood rot, right away.
Exactly.
You just get that on the contract to begin with, because it's going to be asked for. So that, I'm just saying, you could be a little bit proactive.
Absolutely.
Waiting for an inspection report to put that on the contract.
Technically, the same items that they would note in a FHA appraisal is the same thing in a VA.
Can I interject something?
Yeah, please.
The VA loan is the only loan that requires a termite inspection. So we have to see the termite inspection. And there's an area of it, I don't remember the number, where it says conditions conducive to infestation.
And that's, you can't have that on there.
So anything marked there has to be remedied.
Okay.
So
I've heard
common
that.
ones that I see is wood rot. Another common one is soil to wood.
Mhm.
The soil is touching the wood. Or like the fence is, the wooden fence is touching the structure.
Yes.
And that creates an area where it's more likely to get infestation.
Or a wood pile next
Right.
to the fence or next to, yeah,
Yes,
okay.
and
Okay.
so those things need to be
Addressed.
remedied. I had a deal to where the veteran actually went to the house with a shovel, moved the soil away. The realtor was there taking pictures, then on the way to the closing, I went to the house, took pictures again, and I had to write a certification that I inspected that the repairs were done as well.
Well, we have just a sidebar to that.
So-
Because that is an issue, our company will allow a hold harmless letter. So they can sign, if it's something like a limb touching the roof or something, then the veteran can sign a hold harmless. Yeah.
Okay.
Good point.
Gloria McKaylee. Were you doing that?
No, I didn't do that one.
Okay.
But
So now, if you have builders that want to register with the VA, I can give you the construction evaluation department at the Houston Regional VA. I will not be calling the Houston Regional VA on behalf of your builder. They need to do that, so I can give you the number for that. There's 3 pieces of paper they have to sign. Now, on new construction, the VA wants a builder to issue a 1-year VA warranty or a 10-year HUD protection plan. Most of your builders in this area that should be VA approved. But if they're not and they want to, they can go to the VA and get approved. Now for condos, this is the website to go to see if the builders are registered. You can just, you can call Michelle, and Michelle can go into the site and tell you whether those condos are approved. Now, this is what Michelle did a very good job of talking about on the termite report, because it causes a lot of problems. The termite reports are required, period, end of story. Wood destroying reports are required. The veteran cannot pay for the termite. So a lot of listing agents don't know that. A lot of agents don't know that. And it's one of the #1 problems that the VA finds whenever they audit lender's files. They'll see that the veteran paid for the termite. And so what we have to do is we have to, I mean, realistically, what happens, I think, is that the veteran goes out during the option period, has the property inspected, the inspector says, oh, I can do a wood destroying report for you right now. Veteran innocently writes them a check covering both the inspection and the termite report. They have just violated the VA's rule about them not being allowed to pay. So what we have to do is refund that termite report back to the customer if that happens, either with a lender credit or the agent can pay it, but the buyer can't pay, the seller can pay. So it's easier if you have listings to tell your seller, look, we have 300,000 veterans in this area with Harris, Fort Bend. I mean, we have a lot of, it's a high volume area for veterans. So if we get a veteran client, you have to pay the $85 for the termite report, okay? And it's got to be current within 60 days. So that is just something that might be, yeah, I had an agent in Fort Worth, and one thing about doing these classes is the agents share their stories. I had one in Fort Worth, and kind enough to share this story with me. She did a really good job of explaining the non-allowables to the seller. You know, there's going to be some non-allowed charges here. But she didn't know about the termite. So got down to closing, and the seller had to pay that $85 for the termite, and they got mad about it. I mean, I don't know if you have clients that get mad if they get charged more, you know, 80, yeah.
As a realtor, I would just pay for it myself, or just say, you know, $85, I'm not gonna worry about.
Right.
Let's get the deal done.
Right. But now, you know, no surprises, and I like what I do because it's giving you that information so that you don't get caught irritating someone or making someone mad. You'll have that information. You know, most people, if they know what's getting ready to come down, they don't, you know, they're okay with it. VA does not have a maximum loan limit. We can do loans up to $1 million. We have investors that will purchase loans up to $1 million through the VA home loan program. So what I'm saying to you is that be very careful, even if you're working with a high-end customer, you want to make sure that can you pass that down to Leslie and Frank?
You just said that the maximum was $475.
Without a down payment.